The Hall of Long Beards echoed with the sharp crack of the enchanted whip, each strike drawing crimson lines across Emily's back. She knelt, her face pale but resolute, refusing to yield.
Emily, do you realize your mistake?
Master Alexander stood with his hands behind his back, his tone icy. Beside him, Lily, the junior sister responsible for Emily's punishment, clutched a handkerchief, tearfully tugging at his sleeve.
Master, please, she has suffered enough. Stop the punishment.
Her pleas fell on deaf ears, though they nearly broke the hearts of the senior brothers nearby.
Junior sister, stop crying. It's not your fault. If she hadn't been negligent, none of this would have happened.
Matthew gently comforted Lily, his gaze towards Emily indifferent.
But senior sister hasn't committed any major wrongs. These punishments are enough. Senior brother, please help me persuade Master.
Emily, just admit your mistake and ask for forgiveness. Lily doesn't blame you.
Lily, with tear-filled eyes, looked at Emily expectantly, hoping she would beg for mercy or admit guilt.
Emily, I'll ask you again, do you admit your fault?
Disciple does not know, disciple is innocent.
Emily gritted her teeth and straightened her back even more, her voice unwavering. The root of this conflict traced back to half a month ago. The demon clan had wreaked havoc among the human world, causing countless casualties. Half a month ago, Emily was tasked by the sect to lead disciples down a mountain to exterminate the demons. Among them was Lily, who had just joined the sect 2 months prior. This mission was primarily to exterminate demons, and all participating disciples were at the Foundation establishment stage. By rights, Lily, who had just begun to cultivate, should not have been allowed to join. But she persistently begged Master Alexander every day, which eventually earned her a spot. Emily divided the disciples into 2 teams, one led by her and the other by another Foundation establishment stage junior brother. When Emily returned with her team after exterminating demons, she found the other team, left in the village, had suffered heavy casualties. Upon inquiry, Emily learned that Lily had accidentally triggered a trap set for the demons outside the village, causing several disciples to exhaust their spiritual power to rescue her. At that moment, demons suddenly attacked, and the exhausted disciples were unable to resist. A promising junior brother who had just entered the Foundation establishment stage was severely injured while saving Lily, who had no power to fight back. Emily immediately led all the disciples back to the sect, intending to report the incident to Master Alexander. However, Lily spoke first.
I'm so sorry, senior sister. I regret coming down the mountain. I know I'm just a burden.
In her anger, Emily spoke harshly, making Lily cry even harder, threatening to sacrifice her spiritual roots to save the injured junior brother.
Stop this nonsense, Lily.
Emily thought Master Alexander would punish Lily according to the sect's rules, but to her shock, he blamed her instead.
Your junior sister has just started cultivating, and you left her alone in a village where demons could attack at any moment. Did you consider what would happen if the trap failed and demons invaded? How could she defend herself? You were trying to get her killed.
Such blatant twisting of facts left Emily stunned. The trap was meticulously set by her, designed to capture any invading demons, to be killed by hidden disciples. The village was safe, and she had specifically instructed Lily not to wander and cause trouble. But Lily did cause trouble. Emily tried to defend herself, but her clumsy words, combined with Lily's tearful manipulation, quickly pinned the blame on her for negligence and failing her duty as the senior disciple. The true culprit was let off with a mere warning to be more careful next time. Emily's refusal to admit guilt led to Master Alexander's punishment, 200 lashes. Lily continued to plead for her, but Emily knew that Master Alexander never listened to pleas. Her begging only doubled Emily's punishment.
Emily, since you are so stubborn, I will have you kneel by the thunder pillar and endure the heavenly lightning until you admit your mistake.
Alexander was truly angry, as no one had challenged his authority in centuries. Emily refused to admit guilt, knowing that as long as she didn't, he couldn't pin Lily's mistakes on her and use her to account for the injured disciples. Since Lily joined the sect, She had committed numerous mistakes, all covered up by Master Alexander. Those that couldn't be covered were blamed on Emily, saying she failed her duty as the senior disciple. Emily's back was a bloody mess as she was dragged to the Thunder Pillar. Alexander was determined to make the false charges stick, even calling the disciples to witness. She was bound to the Thunder Pillar, and he summoned the heavenly lightning, striking her repeatedly. Under the Thunder Pillar, the disciples had varied expressions. Some lowered their heads in silence, while others looked at Emily with schadenfreude, as if she deserved the punishment. The excruciating pain tore through her body, but it was nothing compared to the pain in her heart. Alexander intended to disgrace Emily completely, leaving her no face to manage the sect's affairs as the senior disciple.
Why is Lily, with the same spiritual roots, so favored that everyone protects her? Is it because she is the so-called protagonist of this world?
Emily, do you admit your fault?
Emily gave him a bitter smile and roared to the heavens.
I am innocent.
Then everything went black, and she fainted under the relentless lightning.
Chapter 2.
Long before returning to the sect, Emily had a dream.
In the dream, the world I inhabited was actually a storybook. Lily, the poor orphan girl whose village was destroyed by demons and who was brought back to the Qingxiao sect by our master, was the novel's genius female protagonist with top-tier spiritual roots. As for me, I was the malicious supporting character who constantly opposed her, ultimately losing all my cultivation and meeting a tragic end.
Emily found this dream bewildering. As the senior sister in the sect with top-tier spiritual roots, just like Lily, she had already become the most powerful among the disciples.
My strict discipline only made them resent me for being too harsh. My criticisms were seen as constant opposition to Lily. Even the fourth junior brother, whom I had taken under my wing since he joined the sect, betrayed me, fiercely defending Lily and accusing me of being jealous and malicious.
She didn't believe in the dream, but everything in the dream began to unfold before her eyes.
In the dream, I took the blame for Lily and was naturally pushed by our master to face the wrath of the Peak Masters. To quell their fury, our master tied me to the heavenly thunder pillar, where I endured 30 strikes of heavenly thunder, destroying my spiritual roots and nearly obliterating my cultivation.
With her spiritual roots destroyed, Emily's cultivation was hindered, meaning she could never advance further in her lifetime.
I had thought this would never happen. Though our master favored Lily, he would never show bias in matters of life and death among the sect's disciples. But I was wrong.
Everyone, just like in the dream, showed unreasonable favoritism towards Lily, ignoring the truth and morality.
Cultivators are supposed to cultivate their hearts, discern right from wrong, and practice compassion. I had always been strict with them to train their hearts and minds to distinguish right from wrong, but instead they had become muddled, unable to tell good from evil. They were unworthy of the title of cultivators.
The strikes of heavenly thunder woke her up completely.
Rather than taking the blame and risking my life for a sect that couldn't distinguish right from wrong and was doomed to fail, I decided to let it all go. This rotten place didn't deserve my dedication and effort.
The news of Emily being tied to the heavenly thunder pillar, refusing to admit guilt, spread throughout the sect. The fact that she endured 200 lashes and more than 10 strikes of heavenly thunder without admitting guilt shocked everyone.
People said that the senior sister had an unyielding spirit, preferring to be struck to the brink of death rather than accept a false accusation. The entire incident during the trial down the mountain was also revealed by the disciples who were with us, making Lily the target of public condemnation.
The master of the junior brother who had his cultivation path ruined while protecting her even demanded an explanation from Alexander.
These days, as she walked around, people mocked her. She couldn't bear the slightest grievance. I wondered how a simple village orphan could be so delicate. She immediately ran to Alexander and a few senior brothers, crying about her grievances.
When Alexander summoned Emily to the main hall, she had just taken a pill to regulate her energy. Her eyes were dim. Usually meticulous about cleanliness, she hadn't even washed or dressed properly. Her face was pale, her hair disheveled, and she casually called 2 disciples to help her to the main peak. Supported by Alexander and several senior brothers, the 2 disciples helped Emily into the hall. When they let go, she could barely stand, collapsing to her knees.
Sister, what kind of behavior is this?
Lily stood beside Alexander, covering her mouth in feigned surprise at Emily's disheveled appearance. Matthew, standing nearby, frowned openly, showing his disdain.
Sister, are you trying to gain sympathy by deliberately ruining your image?
How laughable that Emily had once valued and carefully taught him, only for him to become Lily's sycophant after she comforted him with a few insincere words when Emily punished him severely for a mistake.
Later, because of my strict discipline and criticism of Lily, he publicly insulted me, claiming I was narrow-minded and malicious, unworthy of being the top disciple of Qingxiao sect.
But Matthew was half right. Emily did want to gain sympathy, but not theirs. Realizing that Lily and Matthew's behavior was indeed inappropriate, Alexander lightly reprimanded them and quickly shifted the focus back to Emily.
In front of the 2 Peak Masters, I ask you again. Emily, do you admit your guilt?
Alexander's expression remained indifferent, determined to place all the blame on Emily.
Since the day I endured 18 strikes of heavenly thunder and fainted in public, Alexander hadn't once inquired about my condition, merely having someone carry me back. Now, seeing that the matter couldn't be brushed aside, he intended to make me the scapegoat, unwilling to let Lily be punished. But unfortunately, his plan was flawed. Emily does not know what crime she has committed. If Master insists on convicting me, please tell me what my crime is.
Emily kowtowed, the cold floor tiles not as cold as her heart.
Now, I wanted to see if my self-proclaimed fair and just master dared to speak his nonsense in front of others and make a fool of himself.
Even without looking up, Emily knew how ridiculous Alexander's hesitant expression was.
Master, I have a clear conscience. Today, in front of the 2 Peak Masters, I want everyone to know the truth of that day. Words alone are not enough. Only the heart mirror can prove my innocence.
At the mention of the heart mirror, Alexander's expression changed. For the first time, Emily's usually composed master's face darkened, his sharp gaze piercing through her. The heart mirror requires a drop of blood from the heart to read the owner's memories. By proposing to use the heart mirror, Emily was determined to clear her name, regardless of Alexander's reputation or the honor of the Misty Peak. Alexander, wanting to protect Lily's reputation, naturally found an excuse to. The grand hall fell silent as Alexander's voice echoed through the chamber.
Emily, when did you become so ruthless and cunning?
His disappointment was palpable, and he shook his head, clearly disheartened by Emily's unrepentant demeanor. Alexander's reputation had suffered because of his protection of Lily, and today he forced a confession out of Emily to prove his actions were justified.
Sister, will you continue to disregard the reputation of Misty Peak and let everyone accuse our master of being unjust and failing to teach his disciples properly?
Lily's tears streamed down her face as she looked at everyone and their master with red, innocent eyes.
Sister, how can you be so heartless, implicating the entire Misty Peak because of your actions?
Matthew, ever the protector, stepped forward to console Lily.
Emily, don't be so shameless.
Emily lifted her head, a bitter smile playing on her lips, her words filled with sorrow and disappointment.
Master, you are forcing me to my end. If that's the case, I confess.
Almost as soon as she uttered the last word, a mouthful of blood sprayed onto the grand hall, clearly due to the extreme grievance and emotional turmoil. The 2 Peak Masters angrily rebuked Alexander for being deluded and unjust, immediately forcing him to severely punish Lily. The incident of Emily being forced to confess, leading to her emotional turmoil and blood splattering in the grand hall, eventually spread out. No one dared to gossip about Alexander, and rumors spread that Lily falsely accused Emily of harming fellow disciples, driving her to emotional turmoil. Seeing that it couldn't be covered up, Alexander reluctantly punished Lily with 100 lashes, personally executed by Matthew. However, These lashes were as light as raindrops, causing no real pain. Dissatisfied and heartbroken, Emily decided to withdraw from her responsibilities. She claimed her spiritual roots were damaged, and she could no longer bear the title of the top disciple of Qingshao sect, retreating to her room to recuperate. During this period, Alexander visited Emily, suspecting she was feigning illness. But after confirming her spiritual roots were indeed damaged, he left in disgust when she spat blood on his robe. The illness, of course, was feigned. The elixirs Alexander used to treat Lily were made by Emily herself.
By the third day of my recuperation, I was already fully recovered.
Emily's spiritual roots were not damaged, and her pale complexion was a facade created by the elixirs. She no longer walked within the sect, claiming seclusion to recuperate, and hadn't stepped out for half a month. The days of doing nothing were quite enjoyable. For half a month, Emily lay idly in her room, watching the interesting events within the peak through a spiritual mirror. Each one made her laugh uncontrollably. As soon as she handed over the management of Misty Peak, Lily eagerly took over, causing chaos with her confusing actions. Without someone like Emily to take the blame, the managing elders of the sect took Lily to Alexander for an explanation. Matthew couldn't bear to see Lily punished and took the blame himself, receiving 50 lashes. But Lily's recklessness only increased. The disciples within the sect saw her as an easy target and took advantage of her. Matthew suffered, taking 5 beatings in a month for her. Eventually, he instinctively turned away to avoid her.
Watching this from my room, I laughed so hard I couldn't straighten up, calculating the time as the sect's grand meeting approached.
The grand meeting, held every other year, was a highly anticipated event for all disciples of Qingshao sect. Disciples from all peaks would compete in the arena to vie for the championship. Emily had secured the championship for Misty Peak for 10 consecutive terms. According to the rotation rules, this year's grand meeting was to be organized by Misty Peak. Alexander, as usual, handed all the responsibilities to Lily, who had a history of causing chaos.
In the dream, when I learned that my spiritual roots were damaged, Alexander confined me within the peak, handing all management powers to Lily, including preparations for the grand meeting.
In reality, all the preparations were done by Emily, while Lily only took on a few easy tasks, which she still managed to mess up on the day of the event. This caused Misty Peak to lose face and offended several peak masters. Naturally, Emily was the one punished in the end. Lily blamed everything on her, saying she followed Emily's instructions. Matthew immediately accused Emily of being jealous of Lily, and Alexander believed she was malicious, making her take the blame.
From beginning to end, I was never given a chance to explain. But now, it has nothing to do with me. I am now a person with damaged spiritual roots and heart meridians, no longer the top senior sister of Misty Peak.
As expected, the day after assigning the task of preparations to Lily, Alexander seemed to remember me, his utility person, and deigned to visit me with Lily in tow.
Master Alexander, what brings you here?
Emily, I see you're not in the best shape. But we need to talk.
I was visibly less spirited than before, barely managing to support myself as I bowed to Alexander, clutching my chest and frowning slightly.
Master, it's okay if senior sister doesn't help. I can manage on my own.
Lily followed behind him, tugging at her sleeve, lowering her head in a delicate manner.
If it were before, I would have reprimanded her for being improper, but now I remained silent and let her be.
Junior sister, what are you saying? Managing the peak's affairs is originally her responsibility. You've been helping her for so long and endured so much, she should assist you now.
In reality, I could see the hint of hope in his eyes as he looked at me, probably wishing I would take over the task so he could avoid some trouble. My silence was taken by Alexander as a refusal, and a flicker of anger appeared in his cold eyes.
Your junior brother is right. Preparing for the sect's grand event is your duty. Now that you're unwell, your junior sister has been handling the peak's affairs for months. We're only asking you to assist her. What reason do you have to refuse?
Everyone's accusing eyes were on me. I clutched my chest as if in pain, my brows furrowed tightly.
Master, I can manage on my own. Don't trouble senior sister.
Emily, when did you become so selfish? I'm very disappointed in you.
This Misty Peak is truly rotten to the core. Master, I have already applied to the sect leader to enter the clear void cave for seclusion and recovery, and he has approved it.
The clear void cave, rich in spiritual energy, is the best place for cultivation, but not everyone is qualified to enter. Only the champion of the annual sect competition has the right to train there.
In the past, I had no time to enter the cave due to managing the peak's affairs. But now, I couldn't wait to escape into the clear void cave and never come out.
You dare bypass me now, Emily? Do you no longer regard me as your master?
Master, it's not worth getting angry over someone so ungrateful. Senior sister's spiritual roots and heart meridian are damaged. Going to the clear void cave would be a waste. Why not give this opportunity to junior sister so she can improve her skills before the sect competition?
Your junior brother is right. Emily, go to the sect leader and give your spot in the clear void cave to your junior sister. With your damaged spiritual roots and heart meridian, your junior sister is our best chance to win the championship for Misty Sect this year.
I sneered inwardly, not surprised by their blatant favoritism. From the moment I mentioned the clear void cave, I knew these two would say something like this. Lily is your disciple, but so am I. I have already lost my spiritual roots and heart meridian for taking the blame for Lily. Now, you want to take away my last chance to protect my cultivation? Master, are you trying to drive me to despair? If that's the case, I'll go.
Ignoring Alexander's furious gaze, I went to the sect leader.
Sect leader, I ask you to give my spot in the clear void cave to Lily.
The sect leader was teaching disciples when I arrived, clutching my chest and gritting my teeth. After telling him to give my spot in the clear void cave to Lily, I spat a mouthful of blood onto him and fainted from the supposed heart attack. It said that the sect leader was stunned and immediately helped me with his spiritual energy, almost carrying me to the clear void cave himself. Later, he angrily scolded Alexander for his favoritism towards Lily, almost ruining me twice and nearly causing my demise. The disciples present spread the story of my forced heart attack, making it widely known. The disciples, already disliking Lily due to previous events, now had even less regard for her after hearing she forced the Peak's senior sister to the brink of death for the clear void cave. People even spat at her when she walked by. Though Lily wasn't the brightest, she knew the sect competition was her last chance. If she could manage the event well, she might change her image in the sect. But it wasn't as simple as she thought. Managing and organizing tasks require habit and accumulation over time. A girl from the countryside like her had no experience with such things. Moreover, the disciples inside and outside Misty Peak, already displeased with her, wouldn't follow her orders. Lily was overwhelmed, crying daily to Alexander for help. At first, he patiently comforted her, but eventually lost patience and bluntly said,
You followed your senior sister for a while. Why can't you learn such simple things? You must not be trying hard enough.
Lily was stunned by his words, almost losing control of her expression but forced a smile. She had no choice but to seek help from Matthew. Perhaps the previous beatings hadn't taught him a lesson, where he couldn't resist Lily's tearful soft pleas, so he agreed. Relieved, Lily planned to dump all the tasks on Matthew, but he turned out to be even less reliable. Matthew had followed me for a while, and I had tried to teach him to handle peak affairs. But he was impulsive and disorganized, doing things his way. After a few failed attempts, I gave up on him. When I managed the Peak's affairs, I handled everything myself to avoid burdening others, fearing it would disrupt their cultivation. From important tasks like managing manuals and teaching disciples to minor ones like tending flowers and trees, I did everything perfectly. Now that I no longer managed things, they were like lost ducks, unable to find their way and panicking. It's easy to predict that this year's sect competition will be an unprecedented disaster. As expected, Misty Peak's reputation was shattered. Not only had they become a laughingstock, but they also lost the title they had held for 10 consecutive years. Matthew, once a promising disciple, was too exhausted to train.
Furious, how could this happen?
Alexander watched as Matthew was kicked off the stage by a Qingzong Peak disciple. Infuriated, Alexander crushed the cup in his hand into powder.
Mocking, without senior sister Emily, what skills do you Misty Peak folks have left?
Alexander stormed off, leaving the disciples behind. I laughed heartily in the clear void cave, giving a thumbs up to the junior brother who mocked them. For the first time, Alexander lost his temper at Lily. Her tearful pleas had no effect on him this time.
Angry, enough. This is unacceptable.
He slapped Lily across the face. Matthew stepped forward to take the blame, as he often did, but this time, Lily spoke up.
Crying, Master, it's my fault. I shouldn't have asked second senior brother for help. I thought he learned from senior sister Emily.
Lily shifted all the responsibility onto Matthew, as she had done to me before.
Master, you can punish me, it's my fault. If I had been more diligent, Misty Peak wouldn't have been embarrassed.
Matthew's expression was priceless, almost making me laugh off the stone bed where I was meditating. Realizing he had been used as a scapegoat, Matthew's anger was palpable. He tried to explain, but Alexander, in need of a scapegoat, wouldn't listen.
Coldly, 300 lashes and into the icy pond for the night.
Matthew was barely alive when they pulled him out. Even then, Lily shamelessly went to see him, crying and pleading for forgiveness.
Pleading, Matthew, forgive me. I was scared.
Coldly, forgive you? Fine. Go to Master, take 300 lashes, and spend a night in the icy pond. Then I'll forgive you.
Lily's face turned pale. She naturally wouldn't do it and ran off.
Frustrated, senior brother, do you have to force me like this?
I continued my seclusion for another 2 years. Matthew began kneeling at the entrance of the cave daily, seeking my forgiveness.
Ernest, senior sister, I now understand you were the only one who treated me well.
I ignored him. I had long been disappointed in him, so forgiveness was out of the question. Matthew didn't get discouraged. He sat at the entrance of the cave every day, meditating and training. Lily, unwilling to give up, came looking for him several times.
Angry, go away, Lily.
Without someone to take the blame, Lily caused another disaster, nearly leading to the destruction of the entire Qingxiao sect. The clear void cave began to shake violently. I used the mystic mirror to check the situation and saw rivers of blood. Just as I was about to rush out, Matthew sent a weak spiritual message.
Weakly, senior sister, don't come out. The sect is overrun with demonic beasts. Stay hidden.
I saw the once peaceful sect drenched in blood. I grabbed my sword and rushed out of the cave. A disciple was about to be torn apart by a demonic beast. My sword flew out, piercing the beast's throat. The rescued disciple, terrified, pushed the beast's corpse off. Relieved, senior sister Emily is out of seclusion. My sword moved like a phantom. In a flash of silver light, the beast fell silent. I directed the surviving disciples to take the injured back for treatment. After helping clear the remaining beasts, I returned to the main peak. The sect leader explained that someone had destroyed the barrier protecting the sect, leading to the surprise attack. I looked around but couldn't find Lily. Just as I was about to search for her, several high-level demonic beasts descended from the sky. I rushed forward, stopping one of the beasts. I saw Lily terrified, pushing an injured senior brother towards the beast to save herself. I sent my sword flying, severing the beast's head. The hot, foul-smelling black blood splattered on Lily's pale face, making her scream in terror. The sect leader and peak leaders, exhausted from fighting the beasts, struggled to command the disciples. Alexander, still in his pristine white robes, stood on high, his cold eyes fixed on me. I avoided his gaze and dragged the trembling Lily to the center of the hall.
Coldly, Lily, do you realize your mistake?
My voice silenced the noisy hall.
Using an injured disciple as bait, disregarding human life, do you realize your mistake?
Stammering, I didn't. You're framing me.
A disciple immediately stepped forward, accusing her. She pushed another disciple towards the beast to save herself. A severely injured male disciple, who had been unconscious, spoke up, accusing her.
Struggling. Last night, we protected her to report the invasion, but she pushed a senior brother towards the beasts and ran away.
Lily had not gone to report the invasion, but had hidden instead. The tension in the hall was palpable as Lily pointed angrily at the injured disciple, her voice breaking.
You lied, I didn't.
Her accusation echoed, but my next words silenced her.
Late at night, why wasn't Junior Sister staying on the peak? Why did she go to the sect's entrance for no reason?
All eyes turned to Lily. She stumbled, her eyes darting around nervously, and glanced up at Alexander.
This is a fragment of a jade pendant I found near the erase core. I don't believe its presence there is a mere coincidence.
I displayed the fragment, and the crowd murmured.
The fact that the barrier was destroyed and the beasts broke in is too suspicious. To uncover the truth, we can't overlook any clue. So, Master, could you explain why a fragment of the spirit-storing jade pendant you always carry was found near the erase core?
I performed the turtle breath technique on the fragment. 2 red lines extended from the jade pendant, pointing towards Lily and Alexander. The red line wrapped around Lily's fingertip, and she couldn't shake it off.
It was him. He gave me a jade pendant and told me to break the sect's barrier. It has nothing to do with me, I'm just a novice. I don't know anything.
Lily's panic was evident, but her blame was truthful this time. The sect leader turned to Alexander.
Alexander, is what your disciple said true?
Alexander's cold smile didn't fade as he waved away the red line.
And what would be my motive? What benefit would I gain from destroying the barrier?
You want to use the fortune of all the disciples in the sect to aid your ascension.
Alexander's eyes widened in shock.
Do you need me to explain in more detail?
Ignoring his shock, I exposed his entire plan.
On my first day in the sect, you told me that cultivators must stay true to their hearts, distinguish between good and evil, and uphold justice to achieve enlightenment. But now, Master, you are using others' lives and absorbing their fortune to aid your ascension. This is not the righteous path. For your own gain, you have caused rivers of blood and countless deaths in the sect. Even if you ascend, you will be despised by all.
A peak master rushed forward but was easily struck down by Alexander.
Now that you know, what can you do? I originally planned to spare your lives, but now that you know my plan, there's no way out for you. Emily, you truly are my most talented disciple.
Disciple Emily requests a duel with Master. Please, Master, grant me this fight.
Alexander's expression turned cold. Spiritual energy shot towards me, but I dodged and countered with a sword strike.
You've reached the great perfection stage. How did you achieve such cultivation?
A cultivator's path is to stay true to their heart. Master, you lost your true heart long ago. How could you improve your cultivation?
Alexander attacked again, and I let him outside. Our spiritual energies clashed, and Alexander couldn't dodge in time, spitting out blood.
It's here. Finally, it's here. So what if you've reached the great perfection? In the end, I will ascend first. Once I ascend, you'll be nothing but an ant I can crush at any time.
I looked up at the thunderous sky and attacked Alexander again.
I must not let Alexander succeed in his tribulation.
Lightning struck, and Alexander dodged frantically. I gathered all my spiritual energy and captured him, channeling the lightning towards him.
Emily, what are you doing? Are you out of your mind?
Emily respectfully sends Master to the heavens.
The lightning enveloped us. Alexander disintegrated in my grasp, turning to ashes. As my consciousness faded, I remembered his last words. He regretted it, but it was too late. Years after Senior Sister's ascension, the Qingshao sect returned to its former lively state. Senior Sister's ascension made the sect the most sought-after place for cultivators.
I still remember the scene when Senior Sister decided to use the heavenly lightning to perish together with Alexander. Amidst the chaos, she held onto Alexander tightly. The heavenly lightning gathered, and Alexander was reduced to ashes in an instant. Senior Sister, like a drifting leaf, floated in the air.
The tribulation was meant for her ascension. She endured it and survived, becoming the first person in a century to ascend.
She always had a sharp tongue but a soft heart. She wanted to sacrifice herself to ensure the safety of the sect's disciples.
On the day of her ascension, Lily was stripped of her cultivation and expelled from the sect.
She ranted incoherently, claiming she was the true protagonist of this world and should be the one to ascend. But no one paid her any attention.
Matthew reflected on his past mistakes.
I was foolish, not appreciating Senior Sister's guidance. I repeatedly hurt her, and by the time I realized my mistakes, it was too late. She would never forgive me. Or perhaps, whether she forgave me or not no longer mattered to her.
Before their fallout, Senior Sister had given him a life-saving pill.
She said I was reckless and might offend someone I shouldn't. If I were gravely injured or on the brink of death, taking that pill could save my life. She was right. I realized my foolishness. Senior Sister must have been utterly disappointed in me, in Alexander, and in the entire Meow Peak.
Matthew repented daily in front of her closed cave, even though he knew she would never forgive him.
Cultivation is about staying true to one's heart, distinguishing right from wrong, and understanding good and evil. I remembered my original intention when I joined the sect, to rid the world of evil and protect peace.
A moment of clarity came over him. He picked up the sword she had given him, bid farewell to the sect, and descended the mountain.
Fortunately, it's not too late now.